I get that, but is we live though? Is we like all the way live though? You heard?
Peace to the public and power to the people. This is the Red Live podcast where the vulnerable are powerful and where the most gangster thing you could do is serve.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is indeed the All the Way Live podcast, man. It is an absolute privilege for us to come here every week as we do. Me and my brother Miles Xavier are people that are passionate about their communities and passionate about impact projects. And what we do on this space every week is dedicate our time to curate carefully curated conversations for your cranium. We dedicate ourselves to checking out information that is interesting, and we bring it over to you guys for the sole purpose of making this a place where people that are going through it can have a place of positivity, because we know that the depression levels are high. We know that people are feeling more lonely than they ever have been, and that's something that we're going to get into in some of the topics that we have curated for the show, man. So we really are intentful about making this a place where you can come, even if it's for a minute or an hour or a second, whatever it is. It don't matter to us. We give you the All the Way Live podcast.
Yep, that's what this is. And as always, Chicago is in the building. Johannesburg is in the building by way of Exeter. You know what I mean? And that's so important, man. I appreciate you. How am I coming through? Am I crispy now? Am I good?
My bad.
I'm cool. All right. Just making sure. But yeah, what up to the YouTube audience? What up to the Spotify audience? We appreciate everybody tuning in as we always do. And yeah, man, Chicago is in the building. You know that means that this podcast is recorded on stolen land. This land belonged to the Potawatomi people, right? It was cared for by them and the Council of the Three Fires until it was violently removed. You know, it was violently taken away from them. And that violence is inseparable from the state that we find our city in, the state that we find this country in, and the state that we find the world in, right? We got to acknowledge that violence. We got to look for reconciliation. We're going to see how we're going to address it, and we're going to need closure, right? So that's a big part of what we do on this podcast is look to impact and look to lift up communities, Black and brown communities the world over. That's how we make sure that the intro is over and that we're coming into the show correct. Zway, what we got for him today?
Hey, man, over here what we do is highlight the work that good people do. Funny enough, the work that we're going to highlight this week is from a particular group of editors and curators called People of the Soil. We're going to go ahead and share that with y'all right quick. These dudes do pretty cool stuff. Have you had a chance to check out their work?
Yeah, man, I was flipping through the flip book, man, and I love just the way that technology is going. This is one of the few times in the past few years that I was like, I wish I had an iPad to check this out on.
Most definitely. So what People of the Soil is a South African editorial magazine, online magazine. They recently released their climate change issue, I believe, is the 7th issue. Let's go over here for Sunday magazines. There's something, Miles, that I enjoy specifically about information and how information is put together and packaging it, and this, the aesthetic of the Love and Environment edition. Look at that, love, another reoccurring topic. But they got some pretty cool stuff. The photography is incredible. The information display is pretty incredible, and they really do highlight the voices of Black artists and Black creatives centered around impact themes such as climate change edition, environment edition. It's super dope, man.
Yeah, man, this is fire. I love seeing Black folks depicted, and photography is a whole different thing when somebody knows how to shoot the colors and patinas that are a part of the diaspora, right? It's a whole different ball game, and you can tell that these people really care about the content, the subject matter that they're shooting. So much emotion that comes through in the visual artwork that's a part of these pieces, and this is coffee table stuff on the go, man. This is what pairs with. I don't know if y'all out there listening to music, Soul Child or Dwele on your commutes or whatever. Mm-hmm. You got that R&B vibe going, that neo soul vibe. This complements that. It's a vibe. What more can I say?
It definitely is a vibe, and we want to shout out their co-founders, Nati Das. who actually I met, and he shared this on this group chat that we were all a part of, which was really cool. And the group chat was based around this Garden Boys Club is what it was called, right? And essentially in that club, it is a bunch of young men who come together with older mentors and engage in these like garden discussions. So shout out to Ruben Huma's family that put that together, the Huma family. And I met Nati through this. He sent an editorial on some random stuff, looked at it, and I was just blown away by the type of information that they share, the aesthetic and style that they do it in. Extremely impressive stuff, and we're more than happy to highlight their art and their work and their hard work as we enjoy. Same as Khalaleto, who's also the co-founder and CEO.
Super fire, man. Super fire. And that's a big part of what we're trying to do with this show is we're trying to build community. We're trying to lift up the folks that are creating community, especially when that community is being created around fire content.
That's indeed. And we'd be remiss if we went further than being able to highlight the work that we're doing at the Mandulo Foundation.
Yes, sir.
Me and Miles are absolutely passionate. What our actual work is on a daily basis is finding different ways of solving solutions and helping kids out specifically in disenfranchised communities. Miles, you're such a huge advocate in your own community and such a huge activist in that space. What has the Mandulo Foundation space meant to you as part of the integral executive team?
Mandulo to me has been an embodiment of this idea, right? It's made me walk my talk in the sense that like we have a lot of conversations about what it means to try and impact community and where to start, right? And we try and encourage people that like it's easy to get started, right? You know, look for community, people of like minds, the folks that are doing this work already, learn from them, and then see where you can take it yourself, right? See what interests you and devote your time and effort to that. And Mandulo has been our self-start version of that. And so to be able to have Mandulo as evidence for myself, even, right? To be reminded that yes, it is possible and that a bunch of kids essentially can have an impact. And to see that mature as we've matured to being not kids, maybe no more, has just been a beautiful thing.
Definitely. And we would be remiss if we went any further than highlighting the support team and the backbone and the hard work of Nomonde, of Mandisa, of Inchilla, and the deep work that they put in place that really does keep this organization alive, man. So we're passionate about helping our communities, and we encourage absolutely everybody that feels the same way when it comes to wanting to see a difference, wanting to make a change in the world, and wanting to really participate in being part of the solution to the issues that they see. We started off wanting to answer a simple question, which is, if you're young, Black, and broke, how far can you take helping people? And this is how far we took it, man. So it's something that Humble can start with the right intention. We share that energy with y'all.
Big facts, man. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Come on, man. Now, you know what we do over here is give people that information. Miles, Xavier.
Yes, sir. And man, we'll continue to share stuff, you know, that we think is important, that we think our community that listens to us would want to engage with. So let us know what you guys want to see. We're going to be better about putting the links in the descriptions. So make sure you look for that. It's going to be continuity. It's going to be carefully curated. That's what we do.
Yo. Kids official sliding on the instrumental. Nordic combos, twist your mental like forbidden jitsus. My click's initial.
Yo.
Gotta love it. You gotta absolutely love it. We have had a pretty interesting week, man. This week has been particularly interesting. A lot has gone on. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm grateful. It's been a lot going on in like every sector, right? on the internets, right? It's a lot going on in international news. It's a lot going on in on this side in the US. You know, COVID is still going on. It's a lot happening, but I'm just grateful that this week has been one of like a lot of socializing, which I don't typically like. But the fact that on being on the other side of it, you know, I'm glad to have gotten around to see some of my peoples. I'm glad to be in conversation with you now. And I'm glad that, you know, my people's is safe and everybody's healthy. I'm just trying to stay rooted in that.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That gratitude really does go a long way. And you know, what as one goes on the journey of self-discovery, you realize that, you know, grounding yourself in gratitude is so important, and it actually flows so well into the how this week has been, and being able to see some you know, being exposed again to what some people might be going through in their personal lives that we might not be aware of. You know, so when I hear you talk about being grounded in gratitude and that type of thing, man, that really does resonate. Because, for instance, if you had the type of week like our favorite rapper Isaiah Rashad might have had, you know, that would be a quite difficult week, and you would need to be able to grab onto whatever you can to ground yourself.
Word. And I appreciate you starting this conversation by like grounding us in gratitude, and by asking how I am. How are you?
I'm good. Blessed, highly favored. God is good all the time, bro. All the time.
Big facts. Look out for your homies, man. Don't forget to ask them how they are. But yeah, gratitude is mad important in this conversation, because I'm super grateful for Isaiah Rashad, and this conversation to me starts there, right? It starts with the fact that I'm a fan of this artist. I'm like, his work is some of the music that I've turned to, like when I needed to not, you know, be in my own head. I was able to escape into some of what this person has created, and that's a deep thing for a stranger to be able to do for you. So when I see something happen out there that causes this person to be hurting, right? As a stranger, I do whatever I can to lift up love for that person. So, you know, whether that's thoughts and prayers, whether that's using my platform to be a part of a communal voice that's showing support, we got to do what we can do.
Definitely. And what really sucks about this, Miles, is that what really sucks about is that this is somebody's private life that's being exposed, right? This is somebody's private life that is completely coming into the light. I still retain that everybody should have the opportunity or the option to be able to share what it is they want to share with the public and not share with the public, right? So seeing somebody that whose work, and we're both massive fans. I mean, last weekend I was wearing a TDE Isaiah Rashad shirt that was gifted from my brother, you know. So yeah, for us, this is, and we ranked this the highest album of last year, and still do rank this the highest album of last year. All to say is the purpose in even in discussing and using this moment as a point of discussion is we're coming from people that are heavily invested in the art that this man makes. And with that investment comes the concern, because, you know, Rashad has suffered from depression. He has mentioned that he's tried to kill himself a couple of times. So I can only imagine who's somebody that has admitted to struggling to be with himself, what that means when your private life is exposed in such a public manner.
Yeah, man, the repercussions of this, right? Like, we don't know how this will affect his relationships, both personal and in the industry, or in like his career going forward. And we don't know how this will affect him and his mental health, right? So reaching out and showing love for him as a human first and foremost. And then there's like, why is this news, yo? As something that he probably didn't want out there in the first place. What's the proper conversation that we can have in showing support? And if we're going to talk about this, I think it needs to be around that, acknowledging whoever leaked this was looking for attention of some kind, yeah. Right? And we need to be a part of the collective voice that says there's not a demand for this type of content. Attention seekers don't out people with the idea in mind that this is going to bring you clout, because we don't want that. And that's complicated because there is a curiosity, a natural curiosity that we have towards celebrities, right? We do want sneak peeks into their private lives. But in a sense, like we need to prioritize their humanity over our curiosity.
Definitely. You see, the weird thing about it too is this obsession with celebritism that we have, and it makes me wonder: is it better as an artist to just put your art out into the universe and then disappear into the background? You know what we do over here. This is a form of art in itself, in this curation space that we have, and we've had many discussions of how we aren't people that put ourselves necessarily out there. It's to our detriment in a lot of cases. And imagine, even now, even if it isn't something that is revealing about my sexual preference, my sexuality, as Rashad's case, but bro, expose me in an intimate moment, in a very intimate moment, and have that come out. That would be so humiliating and embarrassing. I gotta explain that to my mom. I explain that to my sister. I gotta fight it off with y'all. So this would suck big time, bro.
For sure. Yeah, no, we won't like leak nothing embarrassing. Like, that moment when it's been a long day of work and you come home and you got this burger, right? And you just dive into that like shamelessly, right? You got burger sauce all over your face, right? You don't want to look up and see a camera in your face, man. And even if you did, somebody snapped a picture, whatever, and y'all was cool with it, that's a private picture for you and your friends. You don't want that to leak, right? And this particular conversation is an invasion of privacy, as we mentioned, with deep repercussions, right? But there's positive things here too, right? There's been a response from fans, right? A very vocal one of support, right? Of this does not affect our ability to relate to you, or how we hear your music, man. We appreciate you. We rock with you. And even a couple of artists have come out. Zoe Dollars, Duke Deuce, who's actually featured on the album, have come out in support, saying basically we don't care. And
we don't care.
I don't know if I've ever been this excited to hear a collective "we don't care."
Yeah, we don't care, and that's as a very dedicated fan, you worry more about the well-being of this artist. This Rashad's music has gotten us through some of the darkest times, and that's the alchemy of good music, and that's the alchemy of good art, is that you're able to transcribe your pain into something beautiful that somebody can use. I actually heard Mike Posner say that. And that's exactly what Rashad has done for us on so many different occasions. So when you see something like this, that is a deep impeachment on this person's private life, and knowing as a fan, bro, what does this mean? How long we have to wait in between the next Rashad album? We know how long we're gonna have to wait for that, But as you say, I hope the support that comes with it, and I hope that being able to come out in one's light in terms of we say the vulnerable are powerful. Hopefully this moment of enforced vulnerability empowers this person to live an even fuller version of themselves, because living a life holding in a secret, of that magnitude, I can't imagine as an enjoyable one, a fully enjoyable one.
Word. But yeah, while looking for silver linings, still condemning whoever leaked this, and for sure, man. But I'm glad you said what you said. I'm glad you mentioned that essential tenet of the show, that the vulnerable are powerful, man. Let's get vulnerable for a second, Sway. We had this conversation on the podcast before about our heroes and how we see ourselves in our heroes and how we're let down, right? And so we have to kind of shift our mentalities to being more realistic, that our heroes, like the people we look up to, the people we want to be like, the people that create things that we love, are they're human, right? They're human just like us. And Zway is human just like us, right? And there might be some things about Zway that, fans of the podcast, might be interested to know, right? And so I would just want to give you an opportunity right now. Like Zway, what are some of the things that people out there might be surprised to know about you?
That I have to, one, I have social anxiety, and also I deal with binging. With binging, I have a habit of binging, and I think that might be surprising because I'm a very active person, and I've had a past of sharing how active of a person I am. #apply the pressure. But It's when it comes to the weekends, man. I have to have a very strict diet, and then when it comes to weekend, give myself a little bit of space. Otherwise, a bad habit starts to form around my relationship with food, which then will show itself as my relationship with people.
Dang, man. Well, I appreciate you actually going the vulnerable route, right? I hope I didn't make you feel pressured to give us, like, to chef up some vulnerability on the spot. I hope you knew that the gate was open to take it to wherever you wanted to take it. But I appreciate you as always, for bringing, your soul to the table and sharing that, for the sake of other folks out there that might be able to relate and be lifted up by that, man. You're the man.
Thank you. And those thanks and whatevers are very great, but I have to send that question right back to you, buddy. You see the path that we've laid out. This is vulnerability alley. Go ahead, stroll down.
All right. Well, as a stroll, it's funny you say stroll, right? Something people might not know about me is that I dig something like, so this whole conversation is about, like, people were surprised that Isaiah was doing something that people have this thing in mind that it's only for females, right? But damn all that, right? This thing that people think is only for females, that no longer, man. All right. I know you get manicures sometimes. That's one of them. Massages, spas, self-care. That's another thing. I enjoy a good massage, right?
Is that your vulnerable moment? Is you telling us you enjoy massages?
I'm getting there, man. Okay. Fashion shows, right? I think fashion shows are dope, especially you got the right music, you got that going. I think checking that out, seeing, like, man, that's dope. I want to be, right, like Thug at the fashion show that, like, knows enough to be like, oh no, that's messed up, and steps up, straightens the guy's outfit. I think that's cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm being vulnerable, right? All right, you want to get real vulnerable? I have a tendency to divert with humor. How about that? All right, I bet you didn't know that about me. Sometimes when I feel like I'm put on the spot and I don't really know where to go, right? I'm cornered. I just use being funny to get out of it. So
look at where this started, and look at where it went to. It started with I enjoy massages.
We out here.
Thank you for being so vulnerable, Miles, and sharing that difficult path. And you have to conceal your love for massages. We still give you support nonetheless, man, because over here on the show we don't discriminate when it comes to that type of thing. But one of the reasons why we said we not enjoyed, but we wanted to curate a conversation around Rashad is that there's an increasing number of rappers in hip hop who are embracing their sexuality and are opening the conversation of what we consider to be the quintessential hip hop male. Granted, the numbers are very, very small. The numbers are very, very small, but I think of things like Tyler the Creator. I think of Kaytranada. I think of Frank Ocean. I think of those folks, and so I'm glad, and also seeing the relationship that Tyler has with the rest of hip hop. Right, his talent is undeniable, and it's if anything, since making that revelation, it hasn't slowed him down, but it's propelled him even further. And I'd love to think that Rashad is going to take that same type of approach, regardless of what it is, but allowing that freedom to fuel his creative ability.
Big facts. And I'm glad that you kind of brought us into the hip hop conversation in a broader way, because there is a history of homophobia in hip hop, right? And as we continue to appreciate the way that hip hop has been able to mature, I think, like, eradicating that is a big part of what needs to happen, of where hip hop needs to go, right? And I think this is a step, right? Something I want to tee you back up to say it, but you made a great point about Isaiah's place in hip hop, and specifically his relatability, and why this might be a more difficult pill for folks to take than maybe some of those other artists.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult when you can't really compare to Tyler the Creator and his moment. With Rashad, it's a little bit with Rashad, he's never really embraced that type of let's say quirkiness that would not necessarily surprise people. You know, it is definitely a surprise for sure, especially when you reflect on his content and how heavy it is and the struggles of being a dude that is breaking women's hearts, and that undoubtedly has to be the case if one can portray it so vividly. But I really, really hope that this is what unlocks him to flooding us with more music and really diving deeper into that art, to express even what he feels like right now. Because, as I said, man, that man's music has gotten us through very, very difficult times. The Sun's Tirade is still an album that keeps one in rotation. Like that, you know, that's music that literally uplifts you. And this man's just talking about his pain.
Big facts. And talking about it in a way that is not only relatable, but his skill lyrically is there, right? He gets ambiguous with the topic sometimes, but it's important to me that there's this. I mean, to me, imagine the representation for somebody who, you know, identifies as gay, right? Or somebody who's in the closet even, right? But I'm super happy that there's this person in this space now where, like, a lot of these rappers, they can say what they want about him being gay, but they can't rap with him, you know? They can't make music with him, right? And I think, and that's true of Tyler, you know, and on the R&B side, right? That's true of Frank in a lot of ways. But you know, I look forward to the talent of these artists speaking for itself, and for that to drown out any conversation that is around negativity, man. So love to Isaiah Rashad, bro.
Love and light to Isaiah Rashad, man. Still got the best album of the year. Still one of our favorite artists. He has not missed a shot. Isaiah Rashad is a problem for y'all to deal with. Whether you want to admit it or not, when he drops, everyone's going to be forced to pay attention to what this man has to say in his music, because the fans are completely gripped by it. He made a perfect album last year. This man is a artistic phenom in the hip hop space. We congratulate you, bro, and we let you know that over here, where it matters, we don't care about none of that.
Yeah, I'm running back to The House Was Burning right after this.
100%, man. Miles Xavier, with your transition, I'd like to give these people a little bit more information.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Yo.
Here we are, explaining things for the homies.
Yet again. Zway.
Do you have any Valentine's Day plans, Miles Xavier?
Do I have Valentine's Day plans? Yeah. I'm gonna be chilling, making sangria at the crib, on Zoom with my lady. And I'm trying to make sure I remember every aspect of these plans. Thank you for this process, right? This is helping me right now. I think we're
powerful.
Big facts, man. Big facts. Man, typically sometimes when we hang out, we'll do like question games and stuff like that over Zoom, ask each other random questions about life. We'll watch movies and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll chop up some fruits and add them to some wine and see where that beautiful beverage and, you know, our Valentine's ship takes us.
That's beautiful, man. That's absolutely beautiful. And I love to see men in love, man. You know, love is such a beautiful thing. Black men in love specifically, you know, there's a certain type of swag and style that you put into it. And so, you know, with Valentine's Day explained for the homies, we figured that this particular year, we just go ahead and look at the history behind Valentine's Day. Look at how we got to a place where we have to spend so much cash.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad that somebody's like looking into this, man. We got to unearth what the reason why. If I'm going to shell it out, and you know, I love to shell it out. There's no better reason than love, right? You know, for sure that. But why though? You know.
But why is love expensive? Is the questions we're trying to answer here.
So we agreed upon this question, and we each set off to answer it. Do you want to start or do you want me to start? You tell me what you found, man.
I mean, what I found is understanding essentially what drives the need for us to be in love, what drives the need for us to be in love, and then also some of the history behind Valentine's Day as a day of celebration. And so, obviously, what they say is all of our instincts are rooted in the fundamental biological processes of the brain. So in this particular instance, the necessity for us to want to find love is predicated on the necessity for us to reproduce. And then the lust element of it, is.
I get, okay. I already love her, and that's cool. But where does the money come in? How did we start to say that this day I need to spend this money?
I'm glad you asked. So typically speaking, right? And typically speaking, the concept of a union and the concept of marriage and union and love under the biblical terms, which was what was then considered conventional, right? What would be secular would be rules of the book, and in different countries applying different rules of their books into their love stories until the 1920s, when Hollywood, the turn of Hollywood, right? And the booming of Hollywood, which was what then started promoting this concept of like a love forever. And then you look at the actual holiday day, which was a pagan holiday, which was then adopted into a pagan holiday, which was then brushed up from St. Valentine and then inserted into our celebration list.
I feel like every holiday is a pagan holiday. I feel like they say that about every holiday. I feel like they say like oh, Christmas, that's a pagan holiday. Easter, pagan holiday.
Kwanzaa, pagan.
All holidays, pagan. What is pagan? Just mean holiday? What if we found that out? No,
I mean, it's pagan mean holiday.
No, it definitely does not. Right? It was actually a festival called Lupercalia, right? Which was about the Roman goddess of fertility. Right, so there was that, right? But then there was these two dudes. Well, it was actually one dude, I think, but some people say it was two dudes. But I think it was one dude named Valentine who got killed because he was, preaching the Christian gospel, and he did something to upset the Roman Empire. Right? He either did a miracle and cured a blind person, or
no miracles here. No.
I'm giving you facts. I'm giving you facts.
One miracle maker at a time. No.
I'm giving you the facts, man. This is these are the legends, right? So they say he either cured a blind person as like a demonstration, of Christianity, and the emperor was like, "Oh, you got to get up out of here," killed him, or that he was freeing the Roman Christians from Roman prisons, and the emperor called him. It was like, "No, you got to get up out of here." Or the emperor decided that single men did made better soldiers, and they were like, "You can't get married, single man. Don't do that, young man. You got to wait till you go old and you're no longer a soldier." And then this dude Valentine was like, "No," and he was still performing marriages.
No.
So some type of way, this man Valentine made this emperor mad, and the emperor had killed him. And some say the stories, as I just have described to you, had something to do with love. And so eventually later, as you said, like, media starts to become popular. And there's this connection between Valentine's Day, the dude was killed on February 14th, and the mating of birds. Birds was mating in the spring, and it was like, "Oh, the birds is getting together." I'm telling you, we got to do more of this research because I like how we find different things. But the birds was getting together on February 14th, and that's why people were like, "Oh, word!" People started writing letters, and media and books popularized it. The dude who wrote Canterbury Tales, Geoffrey Chaucer, included that in one of his books. Right, he called somebody like his Valentine in the book, and people started using that day as an excuse to write letters to their loved ones because they figured love was in the air. Springtime, Valentine's Day, February 14th, when this dude got killed. Even though that's not a very romantic sentiment, but
Yeah, specifically on that case of the soldiers, right? The soldiers that were denied love, essentially. the soldiers that Valentine freed from the shackles of solitude.
Valentine was black, by the way.
Had to be.
I was throwing that out
I
there now.
said, free my G's.
Valentine Freeman, Saint Valentine Freeman.
Yo, so what I was hearing is that, what I read is that the Roman soldiers at the time they did not feel like fighting, and the emperor at the time was launching a very extended war that had been going on for years, even decades, right? Going into decades. And so the soldiers had lost steam, and a lot of the soldiers actually wanted to be back home with their families. And in an effort to stop that, like you said, they were nope. You're not allowed to be at home with your families. In fact, they even banned concubines, and they banned concubines and prostitutions for those soldiers, so that they couldn't engage in that type of thing. Prior to that, that same celebration period of Valentine's is that they would how do I put this? Whip a virgin is how they would say it. Is literally is how they.
I don't know what I expected was coming next, but it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Yeah. That's what I said when I read it too. But hey, listen, we give you the facts over here. But that is the story of it. And so it gets to the 1920s, and then Hollywood starts promising this longer outlook on love, and then that becomes the conventional ideology of what bond and the celebration of that bond is supposed to be. Insert not De Beers, but it was De Beers with the engagement ring. How did we come about buying diamonds and that type of thing? Insert De Beers with an engagement ring, and then go ahead and insert Christmas, and now we have every holiday is a purchasing holiday essentially.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's like we go from this idea of okay, fine, love forever. Hollywood, I'm skeptical, but fine. But also, who was it that started messing up and went from this is about love and writing love letters on Valentine's Day to now you got to buy gifts? You know, somebody started doing too much. Somebody started sending the letter and like flowers and a bear and all that type of stuff. You was doing too much, man. You see what you started? You see what you got all of us doing, man? You gotta chill.
Which was like the good old days. But that's what it's morphed into. That's what it's morphed into. And so now, you know, after COVID, you're seeing a lot of people have been broken up over COVID. A lot of people are out of relationships that made it through the fire, and then once the doors opened, relationships fell apart. So even this particular Valentine's Day today would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge some of the people that are going to be feeling lonely over this period of time, where you're watching performative relationships on socials, and you're feeling like, oh man, I'm lonely, isolation. You know, there is such thing as mourning and grieving the loss of a relationship with somebody that you had, especially if you had plans with that type of person. You're not just mourning them, but you're mourning the death of those plans and that mental universe that you guys have created together. And now, you know, it's the day of love. You know, people get lonely. What I do love is that we're seeing Galentine's Day, which is dope. And we should do something for the dudes, man. What would you call it?
I'm sorry. I was just captivated. You're a sensitive dude, man. I appreciate you making space for everybody who might be dolo on the day, man. But yeah, man. I think it's a beautiful thing, right? To see all different types of love being celebrated, right? And just like we've seen people break away from Thanksgiving and do Friendsgiving and decide that that holiday represents whatever they want it to represent. That's always been my take on Valentine's Day too, right? Like it's a reminder to show love to the people that you love, even if you don't have to love them romantically, right? Reach out to your moms, you know, reach out to your pops, you know what I'm saying? Do something nice for whoever, you know what I'm saying?
Do something nice for yourself.
Big
facts.
Nice
for yourself, man. Like love on yourself, people, please. Self-love, man. Self-love, which is so difficult to do. Like self-love is very difficult to do because it's so continuous. You always are with yourself, but like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm speaking about me, right? That's what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find a way to love on myself.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna touch that one. what are some Valentine's Day hacks that we can give the people, man? So whether you're in a relationship or not, you can give some of those plans for self-love that you may have. Or what are some nice things that you could do, maybe especially on the inexpensive side? I know people's pockets is hurting. You got any ideas for the people?
Home cooked meal, man. Do something that you haven't done. Do something that you haven't done. Whatever it is that you've not done, go to a park. Go to a park. Go to a museum. Make her food. Picnic. Make him or her food. Who doesn't enjoy that? A good cooked meal. That dude, I'm single, dude. I don't know I don't know what you do.
But you're clearly a thoughtful dude, and I'm sure those are all great suggestions. So I appreciate you sharing them with the people. I'm always an advocate of getting to know the person you're with, man. Get to know your partner. Everybody, like each person brings something to the table, right? If y'all polyamorous, yeah, everybody, whoever is involved, bring something to the table, right? So like create a list of questions. Favorite song right now, right? Bring a quote, either from something you're reading or something you love, right? And share these things, right? That's the type of stuff that I bring to the table. Recipes, even,
Yeah. Because you're big on communication. You're big on relationship communication. And you're someone that I speak to when it comes to my relationship situations and whatever the case is. That's why that's so fly when you say get to know your person better and introducing games. Is that something that you do? And like, what other ways of connecting with your partner do you usually practice?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, like we do the Zoom thing. It's a long distance thing. So we have to be very intentful and about keeping conversation like engaging. So we come up with games to ask each other questions. When we watch things together, right, especially like binge watch shows or whatever, we'll like look for opportunities to like pause it and be like, all right, bet, what do you think is gonna happen? What do I think is gonna happen? And we'll like bet something on it, you know what I mean, just to be like, all right, we'll see what's gonna happen, right? Yeah, man.
That's cute.
Hey, man. Well, I can't take credit for most of these. You know what I'm saying? Or even the communication aspect of it, right? The relationship I'm in, my partner is just has elevated my level of communicating in a relationship in a huge way. Yeah, man. I would say I'm big on anything that involves questions. I'm big on like, yo, your partner, like ask them. Like this isn't something, especially people over distance, like think of, but even in person, like ask your partner what they want you to wear, right? If y'all going on a date or whatever, let them pick out your outfit, right? Something like that.
Interesting. It seems, and that is like the basis of they say the bonding, conquering, going over challenges together and new experiences together and trying different things together is how you sustain a loving, long relationship, is what I'm told.
For sure. And finding out the things that y'all disagree on, right? Figure out who's a mountain person and who's a beach person, right? Who wants to go hiking on vacation and who wants to chill. These are the things that you can figure out through questions, or you can figure out, if y'all have the resources and the availability to do some of that stuff. Be intentional about it.
One of the things that kept on popping up over COVID, along with breakups, along with the breakup rate and along with the rate of people that feel isolation and people that feel ostracized and that type of thing, is that actually the number of weddings that are scheduled for 2022 is a lot higher than it was previously, right? And they say this is based on marriages that were pushed forward from 2020 and 2021 that were pushed forward into time. And that's something that we're seeing a lot of too. Off of that same time, we're also seeing divorce rates that are also going up. So clearly, this is a moment of people getting together and people getting away from each other as fast as they can on both ends.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in this, and it's a tumultuous time for relating to people, right? We're figuring out how to do that through technology. We're figuring out how to do that safely as like communities. Like again, after a weird time, like it's a tough time, right? And I think we'll develop different ways of communicating with each other. I hope, right, that bring us to a place where there's more understanding, right? Maybe the divorce rate goes down because fewer people decide to like get married. They decide there's another way of relating to people that works better for them. Or maybe relationships are just stronger, right? Or people get married later. Like, I'm interested to see what the different data and statistics will show on, but I do think that we'll figure it out, even though it's a weird time right now.
Definitely. So the New York Times reports that 2.5 million weddings are expected in 2022, and this is the most since 1984. Majority are scheduled from 2020 and 2021. The rest are likely to be couples who became engaged during the pandemic. A lot of people got engaged during the pandemic. I wonder what the divorce rates are going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when we look back at COVID weddings and COVID engagements.
Who knows, man? There's so many factors involved, right? There are people that might be getting married because they were together during lockdown. Like they first started getting together. Maybe they had recently moved in or were thinking about it, and they made that jump because we didn't know what was going to happen with the world. And through that situation, they found out that what they really want is to be together and that they work. And like, that's amazing. Maybe other people are looking at COVID and say, we don't know what's going to happen with the world. And so I want to get married, and I want to make that happen now. And I want to have kids. And, so there's all sorts of super solid relationships that might be forming in a part of that 2.5 million. There's all sorts of maybe iffy relationships. That's just how life go. But to each and every one of y'all, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but wonder whether it's based on the fact that people feel alone, and so people are not compelled to run a little bit quickly into relationships and run into weddings. Obviously, time is subjective when it comes to these sorts of things, but there is no doubting that COVID has forced a lot of people to have to sit by themselves and really deal with whether the people that they enjoy or the people that they don't enjoy. There's some places in the Middle East that reported 60% divorce rates over the COVID period, right? So just thinking about what it means going forward, especially when you still think that we're operating off of an old broken marriage contract, right? Because they say the history of weddings and the history of marriage is actually institution that can help compile property, assets, and labor. Those three things.
Hey man, you're preaching to the choir, buddy. There's a conversation to be had about the question of like, why does the state need to be involved in my love? But there are also like strategic aspects of that, right? Getting married and being able to pass on assets easier, being able to do things like joint bank accounts and stuff like that, because there's a legal record that reflects that this union is real and significant. And so, a lot of people are relying on it for immigration. So there's not that they should have to, right? But that there's a lot. It's a complicated aspect of society that I'm with you, brother. We should rework and examine and take a look at and be more inclusive about in whatever version of it we keep.
Because my response to that would be, if it is in case a factor of compiling assets and shared bank accounts, then let's create an LLC for it. Let's create a CC for it. Let's create a PTY for it. Let's create trust accounts for it. There's more tools that can be utilized, especially in each of these respective areas, that one could enforce in order to even optimize the value that one gets back.
Yeah, imagine saying all that at the altar to your shorty, right? Like, yo, look at these tools that we've used to optimize the value, the ROI on what we're about to do.
It's still a contract that's being signed at the end of the day. We're still going to sign a contract. Do I want to sign a contract that I've worked on, that I understand, that we have together worked on to understand the perfect setup for us, or take this one size fits all contract that is statistically not working?
You, sir, are talking about a prenup.
But even a prenup, even a prenuptial agreement still does a very sloppy job at the separation of calculating the middle ground of it.
What if you write it? Not if you write it. Not if you and whoever's helping you understand the legal of it. You can write it. Like, I think there's a stigma and there's a connotation on prenup that is it has a sloppy or that it's one-sided or whatever. But I think if you're talking about looking at what marriage is and making amendments to that, right? I think on an individual basis, what that looks like is a destigmatized version of a prenup. And my broader point is that there are words for like some of these things, that these tools in the marriage sense that are brought over from the business world, because it is a contract at the end of the day, but it's also something that we're socialized to think of as this big milestone in life, right? And people want that to feel romantic, and they want that to feel celebratory. And especially when you're like promising yourself to another person, you want that to be something that feels soulful and not something that feels as sterile as the signatures of like a boardroom and looking through papers, right? And so even if it's a bit silly, I think we've layered this system that I agree, again, doesn't work and that we need to adjust, and it's archaic at this point. But you're a very practical person, and I just think in the realistic ways we address this, there's going to have to be some just allowance for romance, just for the sake of romance in this legal language, because that's what people want, man.
Yeah, and look, I'm all for going through the process and the celebratory and the do the whole thing, except that contract. That contract is what scares me. You know what I mean? But you're right. Maybe there is more towards prenup that one can look into. But I do think that if it is in fact a matter of assets, if it's in fact a matter of tax incentives, and it is, because that's what the purpose of this contract is. There's better ways to be able to build it. And I say this now, but again, there is the social value of being married and the equivalence of being able to say you have a ring that has been ordained by the court. I get that, but different strokes for different folks.
Amen. If you want to propose with a PowerPoint presentation, I'd fully support you. Hey, your love, dude. Like, let them know.
Have you seen slide 3, baby? Have
The
you seen slide 3, baby?
It's looking good. It's looking right. It's looking nice. You know?
I'm definitely going to be speaking about trajectories at the engagement for sure.
The investors, they're bullish. You know what I'm saying? Yo, but I look forward to all the love you have coming in your life, man, and I appreciate. I'm make sure that we connect on Valentine's Day. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm gonna be making sangria with my shorty, but I'm gonna make sure that I show you love. Hit up my mom's, hit up my grandma. I encourage y'all to do the same out there.
Hey man, listen. Without further ado, we get into the show that the people like most. What part of the show is that exactly, Miles Xavier?
Recommend it and review. Yo, I know that this show is getting a little long in the tooth, man. We've been having a little too much fun. We've been letting it go. We got to tighten up. But first, without further ado, the review. Cousin Stiz. Just for you. Just for you. What you think?
In 2019, before COVID kicked in, me and Xavier were together at a Cousin Stiz show in Chicago. It was, in fact, a Freddie Gibbs show, but Cousin Stiz was the first opener of that show. Cousin Stiz, we started listening to Cousin Stiz in 2012 with that Who You Know on SoundCloud. And then they had that SoundCloud Who You Know remix, the No Bells remix. Super, super dope, man. Stiz has always been a very wavy person. What's interesting with Stiz is that I see Stiz, Casey Veggies. I see Stiz, I see Casey Veggies, I see Rocky Fresh in the same car in hip hop, in the same place in hip hop, right? Which is people that had more than a one hit wonder, people that are beloved by their respective cities. Cousin Stiz's instance, beloved by Monda in Boston, a hometown favorite for sure, your favorite uncle, as he likes to put it. So seeing Cousin Stiz that day in 2019, it just made me reflect back on some of the dope stuff that Cousin Stiz has given us over time.
Big facts, man. There's something really dope about finding an artist in the hip hop landscape that is comfortable with where they are, and even if that's not centered to the conversation, right? And people that are carving a lane out for themselves, doing what they love and making music. And while when you listen to the music, there are obviously some shots at elevating his position in wherever the hip hop hierarchy is you want to define it. Overall, I would say like he knows who he is, he knows his lane. This particular project, Just For You, I think really like in his way captures what he knows about his ability to make different types of songs and hooks and sounds, and to lean into the production. So I think that this was some of the best that we could look to get from an artist of his caliber.
Interesting. One of the cool things about Stiz is Stiz's appreciation for style, his presentation of his music, looking specifically at how he came up off that Monda album, the album art of that super dope. The album, to me, the Monda album was Stiz's best work, right? Monda dropping in 2016, that was Stiz's best work. I would be hard pressed to say that I've enjoyed any subsequent album as much as I did Monda or Suffolk County. However, what is undeniable, and one thing that made me get a lot of respect for Stiz, especially when seeing him at the show, the Chicago crowd, you know, it was in the winter, it was Griselda opening, it was Griselda, Freddie Gibbs, and Cousin Stiz, you know, so little to say, there were a lot of hands in hoodies, a lot of hoodies up, a lot of blunt smoke in the crowd. Niggas wasn't putting their hands up, going crazy, waving them side to side. It was a hip hop show. If you've been to a hip hop show, then you know exactly what we're talking about, right? And they weren't necessarily receptive to Stiz's more upbeat energy on the stage. However, to Stiz's credit, he did not, and it sounded like his voice was gone, but he did not stop trying very, very hard on that stage. He didn't let the crowd's lack of energy deter the energy that he put up. And what was even doper about that is that after the show, after his show, when Freddie Gibbs was performing, you see him on stage coming up and watching Gibbs perform, excited to see Gibbs perform and supporting Gibbs perform in that way. So when I saw that from Cousin Stiz, man, I earned a lot more appreciation for this artist, and how serious it is that they take their music making. So off of that, it would be hard pressed for me to be able to say that again, this is a bad album, because I don't think Stiz makes bad music. Is it my favorite Stiz album? No. However, I do appreciate what I get when Stiz does drop.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly. I think this album is a win for him as a next step in his career. And yeah, there's like all of his albums. I'm glad you brought up Monda. That's a great project. There's something to pull from here. So Save the Day, I think, is something that I will keep in rotation. Guts and Glory. It's actually like two things about this man. One, when he leans into, when the production is there, man, he knows how to make the type of music that will allow him to have the type of shows maybe that Griselda crowd wasn't going to appreciate, but there's a crowd that loves that type of energy, right? And that's really captured in the music. And two, when the production is there and it's not going for the festival banger or the show, the flashy tune for that, man, like when he's just in his chill pocket, that's some of my favorite music that he makes. Some of the more concept tracks, I didn't really, After the Buzzer, I get it. The champagne pop bottles track, like we've heard a lot of artists do that. I'm less impressed by that than when he's just kind of chilling in the cut. So I'll definitely pull. Is it Look Both Ways, Guts and Glory, Save the Day, Blessings? I think those are my highlights.
For sure, you got two out of my three. Guts and Glory, Blessings, Gone was also another highlight, and the single that dropped, that LBS, is also a favorite of mine. So, LBS particularly slaps very hard. And I like what you said about Stiz being a hook king. Stiz being somebody that understands being able to catch a beat and setting out those very repetitive type of things. He's like one of those types of rappers that says that can say that thing that has you repeating it. You know, who you know. You know what I'm saying? Like that No Bells, that Headlock, another one too, where Stiz can just really put together some dope words that are easy to repeat. That's some fly stuff, and then chill and lay back. So I'm glad to see him still working. I'm glad to see him still putting out albums. I'm glad to see him still participating in the space. You know, Stiz has been rapping for quite some time. At a certain point in time on SoundCloud, Stiz was there in that same category as Waldo, rapping at the same time as GoldLink. So to be able to see somebody who is very much from the SoundCloud era, the first song, the real SoundCloud era, still out here rapping, man. That's gonna mean something to me.
Yeah, for sure. If I could say anything about this project and what I would like to see next is more features. Like you said, he does kind of have that hypnotic kind of tone. I think some features to kind of add a splashes of color on this album would have been really nice. So I look to see him collaborate with other folks in the future. And yeah, man, I look to see him just kind of dig into the mature bag, right? I want to see him. You know, he makes a lot of party music, a lot of amped up high energy music. That's cool, you know. But I really want to see him develop his craft in making just vibey music, because his beat selection is great.
Beat selection is great. Definitely go ahead and check that out. Official review, we're gonna give it a 3. I give it a 3 and a 3 out of 5 over here.
I'm with it. 3 out of 5. Mike.
It is for Stizzo. It is for Stizzo. Man, doing the show is an absolute pleasure, Mr. Miles Xavier.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is, man. And before we get out of here, I want to make just one mention. That is a little bit sad, man. I want to just say a quick rest in peace to Betty Davis. Betty Davis was a funk singer. She was actually the ex-wife of Miles Davis. They were married for a year, and she was a big influence on his music. She's credited to bringing kind of the rock feel that later kind of inspired some of the fusion work that he did later, and actually introducing him to Sly and the Family Stone, and a couple of other incredible artists, Jimi Hendrix, I think, even from that era. And so she doesn't get enough credit. She doesn't get enough spotlight, but there is a documentary about her, I believe, that just came out recently called They Say I'm Different. So go ahead and check that out, man. That's definitely a recommended from us. She put out some incredible music, but she kind of faded from the spotlight. Like I said, she didn't get the credit that she really deserved. She also spent a year in Japan with some monks over there, and then after that, she was just kind of she left the music industry. So you know, she passed away this past Wednesday at 77. She had an incredible life. She's inspired artists like Erykah Badu, Janelle Monáe, Jamila Woods. So just an incredible light and an incredible Black woman. You know, she's one of the only Black women, of all time that wrote the majority of the records she sang, wrote and produced the majority of the records that she sang. So for her time, that was unheard of. And even for now, that's an incredible accomplishment, right? So she was asked in 1974 to describe her style of music on Al G's Rap and Rhythm. And she described her style of music as, I would just say, it's raw. R-A-W, raw.
That's beautiful, man. That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for bringing that up. R.P. Betty Davis. I can't say I'm entirely too familiar on it, but I will give that documentary a look. It looks extremely interesting.
For sure. I appreciate you, bro, you know, for the visuals, for all that you do behind the scene to make this show what it is. The aesthetics are on another level, and they will continue to level up for you, the audience. It's an honor, my man.
It is. And also over here we are in service to you guys, man. So shout out to everybody that has been giving us a look on our Instagram page. Shout out to everybody that's been giving us a look on that SoundCloud page. We drop playlists every single week. Y'all want information? We know. Y'all want music? We know. Y'all want the impact? We know. And y'all want something that's fly. And we try to bring all four of those things together just for y'all, man. So thank you for the support. We know.
Yeah, we know. You could be anywhere in this crazy world doing all sorts of things. And especially this weekend, it's Valentine's weekend, it's Super Bowl weekend. You know, we had some incredible UFC fights. It was the Chicago High School Basketball Championship. There's a million things to be doing, to be experiencing in this world. And you are tuned into us here in the soulful sounds of Hazelnut Tones. That's me. And Chestnut Tones. That's my bro. We are here for this celebration of celebrating, the celebration of life, the celebration of how good it feels to be Black. Don't it feel good's way?
It's my favorite thing, man.
Yep. And we hope it feels good to be you, whatever skin you're in. We hope you eat something delicious, hug somebody you love. Peace, water, we go.
It's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that, but is we live though? Is we like all the way live though?